breathe. Just for a moment, let go of who you were yesterday. Let go of the rushing. Let go of the noise. Because what if the universe isn't responding to what you want, but who you are? And when you finally relax your mind, not just with words, but with the deep intelligence of your body, your breath, your energy, what if life itself shifts in your favor? Today, we're not here to chase anything. We're here to remember. The moment you change your energy, the universe begins to respond. Asterisk, relax your mind and feel the energy shift, not outside of you, within. Most people live their entire lives trying to change the external world, chasing success, struggling for love, trying to control outcomes. But what if you could create the life you desire, not through force, but through frequency? Let me remind you, when your brain and heart are in a state of coherence, when your mind is relaxed and your emotions are elevated, you enter a quantum field of unlimited possibility. That's not philosophy, it's science. The first step is always relaxation, not passive rest, but a conscious surrender of tension, mental, emotional, and energetic. When your nervous system stops firing survival signals, when your body no longer believes it's in danger, something miraculous happens. You become receptive. In this state, you're not trying to make things happen, aligning with what already exists in a higher dimension. And in that alignment, the universe begins to mirror your inner state. Here's what most people never realize: your thoughts are electric, your feelings are magnetic. When you think a thought with emotional intensity, you're broadcasting a signal into the field. The clearer the thought and the more elevated the emotion, the stronger the signal. The universe doesn't respond to empty affirmations. It responds to emotionally coherent energy. So ask yourself, what signal am I sending right now? You want peace? Then you must become peace. You want abundance? Then you must embody gratitude. You want love? And radiate it without needing it in return. This is not about faking it. It's about tuning into the future you, the version of yourself who is already whole, already healed, already free. When you relax your mind and dwell in the emotional signature of that future self, you create a magnetic field that draws the reality toward you. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you are. And so, the work is not in the hustle, but in the stillness. Transformation isn't in the doing, it's in the being. Right now, take a breath. Inhale deeply. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your heart open. Feel the frequency of trust. Feel the vibration of joy. This is your signal. This is your power. And I promise you, the universe is listening. You'll start to see coincidences, synchronicities, people showing up at the right moment, opportunities you couldn't plan. Why? Because the outer world is simply rearranging itself to reflect your new inner state. So let go of the need to control. Let go of the fear. Let go of the past. Relax your mind and watch the universe respond. Asterisk, most people don't realize that relaxation isn't just something we do at the end of a long day. It's not merely a break from stress. It is the entry point into a higher intelligence. A sacred shift in the body and mind that takes us out of survival and opens the door to creation. Because the truth is, as long as we're living in fight or flight, tense, alert, reactively or biologically incapable of creating something new. In that state, our attention is fixed on the outer world, and we lose access to the deep inner resources of who we truly are. You see, when you're living in stress, your brain is firing incoherently. The frontal lobe, the part responsible for vision, for planning, for imagining a new future, starts to shut down. Your body is pumping out adrenaline and cortisol. Blood flows away from your heart and into your limbs. The world narrows, and your thoughts, they become predictable, repetitive, survival-based. Thoughts like, what if I fail? How will I fix this? Why is this happening to me? Dominate the mind. You become addicted to anticipating the worst. And in doing so, you send out a constant signal of fear, worry, or lack into the field. And here's the irony. The more you try to control everything when you're in that state, the less control you actually have. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want. responds to the energy you're broadcasting. And when you're anxious, angry, or frustrated, that energy says, I am not safe. I am not whole. I am not enough. And so, reality reflects that back to you. But the moment you relax your mind, the moment you decide to surrender the story, to release the tension in your body, to no longer fight against what is, that's when something begins to change. Like your nervous system takes a deep breath, and suddenly, the body moves out of the emergency state and into balance. That balance is called homeostasis. And homeostasis is the foundation of healing, of creativity, of manifestation. Relaxation, true relaxation, is a signal to the body that the war is over, that there is no threat, that it's safe to grow, safe to trust, safe to receive. And when the body believes that, it stops fighting the past and starts opening to the future. The brain waves begin to slow down from high beta, those chaotic, fragmented waves of stress, and drop into alpha. In alpha, the mind softens. You start to drift inward. Your awareness expands. You become more present, more intuitive, more connected to something greater than yourself. This is the moment when coherence begins. Coherence is the key. When the brain is in coherence, it's no longer firing out of rhythm. Parts of the brain begin to synchronize, to speak in harmony. The noise becomes music. And when the brain is coherent, the body follows. The heart rate stabilizes. Blood pressure lowers, the immune system strengthens. Your entire being begins to flow, as if remembering what it's like to be whole. And that's when you start accessing higher levels of consciousness. Not because you're trying to think harder, but because you finally let go of thinking altogether. You're no longer analyzing. You're not chasing solutions. You're simply being. And from that stillness, insights come. Clarity comes. Vision comes. And you didn't force any of it. You allowed it. In that space, something sacred happens. You start to feel emotions that aren't connected to anything in your outer world. You begin to feel peace, not because your life is perfect, but because your inner world has settled. You feel joy, not because something exciting happened, but because you're aligned with who you truly are. You feel gratitude, not for what you've received, but for the sheer act of being alive and aware in this very moment. And here's where the shift takes place. That emotional signature piece. Joy, gratitude is the frequency of creation. That's what the field responds to. It's what draws new experiences into your life. But none of it begins with action. None of it starts with striving. It starts with a breath, the willingness to let go. With the courage to relax your mind, even when everything in your life tells you to panic. Because in that quiet, in that space, beyond the noise, beyond the past, beyond the predictable, is where the universe meets you. It's where healing happens, where new futures begin, where miracles unfold. Asterisk, every thought you think is a signal. A pulse, a tiny electrical wave moving through the circuits of your brain. Each time you entertain a thought, especially one repeated with emotional intensity, you're activating a neural network. And the more you fire that network, the more you wire it. This is neuroplasticity, the science of how the brain reconfigures itself based on repetition and experience. But it goes deeper than just biology, because those thoughts don't stay confined within your skull. They become part of your energy field. They begin to shape the electromagnetic signature you're broadcasting into the quantum field. You've probably heard the phrase, thoughts become things. But the real key is understanding how that process works. A thought by itself is electrical in nature. It generates a signal, something like a broadcast tower transmitting an idea. But it doesn't become magnetic. It doesn't become a force that draws in reality until it's fused with emotion. And that's where most people struggle. They try to think positive thoughts while feeling the exact opposite. They say affirmations like, I am abundant, while feeling stressed about money. They visualize love while vibrating with fear of rejection. And so, their energy sends a mixed signal into the field, one that lacks clarity, power, and coherence. You can't fool the field. It doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are in every given moment. is a combination of your thoughts and emotions, your electromagnetic broadcast. Your brain sends out the signal. Your heart draws the experience back to you. The stronger the feeling behind the thought, the more magnetic it becomes. And the more you feel it is already real, the more the universe begins to organize itself in response. So let's imagine for a moment that you wake up in the morning and your first thought is anxiety. Before you've even gotten out of bed, you're already remembering what didn't work yesterday. Anticipating what might go wrong today. That thought fires a set of neurons in the brain. And instantly, the body responds. Cortisol releases. Your heartbeat accelerates. Your muscles tighten. You begin to feel exactly what you're thinking. And because you're feeling it, you think. It even more. Thought and emotion become a loop. You start your day from a place of stress and carry that frequency into every interaction, every decision, every perception. And yet, most people never realize they aren't observing reality. They're projecting it. Now contrast that with someone who wakes up, takes a deep breath, and chooses their thoughts. They imagine the future they desire not as something distant, but as something already alive inside of them. They picture the job, the healing, the relationship, the freedom, and most importantly, they feel it. Cultivate gratitude before it arrives, love before it's returned, joy before there's a reason. And in doing so, they change their energy. They tune their body to a new experience, one that hasn't happened yet, is now being magnetized toward them through their elevated emotion. That's not wishful thinking. That's a deliberate act of creation. Because when you begin to feel the emotion of your desired future as if it were happening now, you're installing new hardware in the brain. You're programming the subconscious, activating the heart's magnetic field and broadcasting a powerful signal that says, this is who I am now. And the field, which is responsive and intelligent, begins to respond to that new identity. It's not about trying to manipulate the world. It's about becoming such a vibrational match to the life you desire that the external world has no choice but to reflect it. The thoughts you consistently think, paired with the emotions you repeatedly feel, become your electromagnetic offering. That offering is what shapes your destiny, not your hustle, not your to-do list, but your state of being. And here's the beauty of it all. You don't have to wait for the outer world to give you a reason to feel good. You can generate it from within. It's when you move from cause and effect to causing an effect. That's when you become the creator. Because if your thoughts are electric and your feelings are magnetic, then you are a walking, talking, living broadcast station. And the clearer your signal, the faster the response. Asterisk, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And at first, that truth can feel confronting, because it asks you to stop looking outside of yourself for the cause of your life and start turning inward. It asks you to go beyond appearances, beyond the conditions, beyond the story you've repeated to yourself 1,000 times. It invites you to take radical ownership not over the circumstances, but over the energy you're carrying into each moment. Because the field, the intelligence that surrounds and permeates all things, is not reacting to your desires. Responding to your being. Most people move through life trying to manipulate matter with matter. They hustle, they grind, they push for results. They try to change their finances, their relationships, their health, all by doing more thinking that if they just want something badly enough, it will eventually come. But they don't realize that wanting is still rooted in lack. Wanting says it's not here yet. And the emotion that accompanies that thought, whether it's frustration, patience, or fear, becomes the dominant signal they're broadcasting into the field. And so they keep waiting for life to change, for the miracle to show up, for the door to open. But nothing outside of them can shift until something inside them does first, because the law of resonance is always in effect. The energy you hold is the magnet that draws your experiences. If you are being the same person, thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, making the same choices, then you are broadcasting the same signal. And that signal can only attract what matches it. This is why change begins not with doing, but with being. It begins the moment you choose to embody a new energy before the evidence shows up. That means practicing abundance before the money arrives. Practicing wholeness before the healing is complete. practicing love before. The partner walks in, and not just going through the motions, but truly feeling it so deeply and so sincerely that your body believes it's real. The body, after all, doesn't know the difference between an experience that is real and one that is imagined with clarity and emotion. If you sit quietly and begin to think a new thought, I am free, I am abundant, I am enough, and you combine it with elevated emotion, gratitude, joy, inspiration, you are changing your neurochemistry. You are signaling new genes in new ways. You are reprogramming your subconscious mind, and in doing so, you begin to collapse time. You stop living from memory and start living from possibility. You don't have to wait for your life to change. To feel better, you have to feel better so your life can change. That's the great reversal. It's also the hardest part for most people, because it means leaving behind the familiar identity they've lived with for years. It means letting go of the victim, the struggler, the one who is always chasing something outside of themselves. It means stepping into the unknown and trusting that who you are becoming will create a new future. But once you make that shift, you begin to embody a new energy and live from a new state of being. You stop chasing and you start attracting. You walk into rooms and people feel something different. You speak and there's a resonance in your voice. You no longer need to convince the world of your worth because your energy speaks for you. You no longer fight for attention because the frequency you emit naturally draws the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences. The work is internal. The real transformation happens in the unseen. It happens in the quiet moments of alignment, when no one else is watching, when you're choosing to stay in the vibration of your future self. Even when your current reality hasn't caught up yet, that's when you become magnetic. It's when your energy becomes undeniable. And that's when life begins to organize itself not around your effort, but around your essence. Because you're no longer asking life to give you something. You're being the person who already has it. And in that state of being, the universe responds, not out of obligation, but because it must. Asterisk, the universe isn't random. It's intelligent, conscious, creative, and it's constantly responding not to your words. It's not to your wishes, but to the energy you radiate. Every thought you think, every feeling you sustain, every state of being you inhabit is like a signal being broadcast out into the field. That signal becomes your conversation with the universe. And whether you're aware of it or not, you are always in communication with it. The question is, what are you saying with your energy? See, the universe doesn't speak in language. It doesn't hear complaints. It doesn't understand desperation. It doesn't respond to the list of things you think you lack. It responds to vibration. It responds to coherence. It responds to clarity. When your energy is fragmented, when your thoughts are moving in one direction and your emotions in another, you're sending out a mixed signal. And in that confusion, you block the very outcomes you desire. But when your heart and mind align, when your inner world becomes consistent with the future you envision, that's when the universe begins to reflect that state back to you in the form of synchronicities, it's opportunities, and people. It's not magic, it's resonance, and it's happening all the time. Just think about those moments in your life when everything seemed to flow, when you weren't forcing things to happen, but they just unfolded. You met the right person at the right time. You received a message you didn't expect. Something you needed showed up out of nowhere. That wasn't coincidence. That was the universe responding to a frequency you were unconsciously emitting. Your energy had become clear. You were relaxed, open, present. You weren't grasping or pushing. You were in tune. Now compare that to the times when nothing seemed to work, when, no matter how hard you tried, things felt stuck, heavy, disconnected. That, too, was a response. Not a punishment, not rejection, but a reflection of your internal state. Maybe you were holding on to fear, clinging to control, trying to figure it all out with the analytical mind. Maybe you were focused on what was missing instead of what was possible. And in that frequency, the universe simply echoed back more of the same. The field is neutral. It's not judging you. It's not favoring one person over another. It's just responding to the signal. And that signal is generated not by what you intend, but by what you feel. That's why changing your energy is the most powerful thing you can ever do. When you wake up in the morning and choose to generate gratitude before there's any reason to, your body begins to believe that the event has already occurred. Your nervous system moves into coherence. Your heart's electromagnetic field expands. You start to emit a signal of fulfillment, of wholeness, of abundance. Because you're now in the energy of having it instead of needing it, the universe responds with alignment. This is why meditation and inner work are so powerful. Not because they're spiritual rituals, but because they shift your frequency. They quiet the mind. They regulate the body. They help you disconnect from the past and the predictable. In that stillness, you become pure potential. From that space, you begin to create not from lack, but from fullness. Not from fear, but from trust. And the universe listens. Your job is not to chase outcomes. Your job is to become the equivalent of the life you desire. If you want more peace, become the presence of peace. If you want more love, become the embodiment of love. If you want more success, tune into the feeling of already having it, not someday, but now. That emotion felt in the present moment is the magnet that draws the future toward you. And when you start living this way, everything changes. Become less reactive and more intentional. You stop looking to the outside world for validation and start looking inward for alignment. And you begin to notice how life meets you in unexpected ways, not because you demanded it, because you finally aligned with it. It's when you realize you were never waiting on the universe. It was always waiting on you. It's waiting for you to shift your energy. Waiting for you to become the version of yourself that is worthy, whole, and ready. The universe doesn't respond to force, it responds to frequency. And when you radiate from that higher state of being, what once felt distant now becomes inevitable. If this message resonated with your soul, take a moment to like, comment, and share this with someone who needs this reminder. Let me know in the comments, what are you ready to let go of so you can attract the life you truly deserve? Remember, your new reality is already waiting. All it takes is one moment of inner change.